Imagine an athlete standing at the starting line of a race. This isn't just any athlete. This person is a superhero. They break every record. They run faster than a speeding bullet. They never seem to get tired. The crowd goes wild. But as you get closer, you notice something strange. This athlete isn't winning because they practiced harder than everyone else. They aren't winning because they have better shoes. They are winning because right before every race, a doctor in a white lab coat sneaks behind the curtain and gives them a massive injection of a glowing green serum. The athlete calls it the juice. The doctors call it quantitative easing, or QE. For over 15 years, the global economy has been that athlete. It looks strong. It looks healthy. The stock market keeps hitting new records, and everything seems to be going up, up, up. But underneath the surface, the athlete's heart is pounding at a dangerous rate. The juice that saved the world in 2008 has become a permanent addiction. And now, the world is finding out that if you take the needle away, the athlete collapses. But if you keep giving the juice, the athlete's heart eventually gives out. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the year 2008. The world was breaking. The ghost housing crisis we talked about before had caused the global financial heart to stop beating. Banks were closing. People were losing their homes. It wasn't just a bad day. It was a total system failure. The people in charge of the money, the Federal Reserve, realized that the old tricks weren't working anymore. Usually, when the economy slows down, the Fed just lowers interest rates. They make it cheaper for you to borrow money for a car or a house. But in 2008, they lowered rates all the way to zero, and the world was still sinking. They were out of bullets. Or so we thought. This is the first twist. The Fed decided to try something that had never been done on this scale before. They didn't just lower the cost of money. They decided to create a magic shopping trip. They sat down at their computers and typed in a few $1 trillion. They didn't print physical paper bills. They just created digital credits out of thin air. Then they took those trillions of digital dollars and went on the biggest shopping spree in human history. They didn't buy bread or milk. They bought the junk that was clogging up the banks. They bought government debt and mortgage bonds. They essentially said to the banks, "Give us your broken toys and your I owe us, and we will give you fresh, shiny cash in return." This was quantitative easing. It was supposed to be a temporary emergency measure. It was supposed to be a one-time jolt to the heart. But once the banks tasted the juice, they didn't want to go back to eating regular food. You might be thinking, what's the problem? The banks got cash. The world didn't end, and my 401k went up. Everyone wins, right? Well, here is the second twist. And it's the reason why your rent is currently eating your entire paycheck. When the Fed goes on a magic shopping trip, that trillions of dollars of new money doesn't just sit in a vault. It leaks out. But it doesn't leak into your pocket first. It leaks into the pockets of the people who own the things the Fed is buying. It flows directly into the stock market and real estate. Imagine you are at an auction. There is one beautiful painting for sale. Usually there are 5 people bidding, and they each have $100. The painting sells for $100, but then the Fed walks into the room and gives one of those bidders an extra $10,000 for free. What happens to the price of the painting? It skyrockets. The painting didn't get any better. It's the same canvas and the same ink. But because there is so much juice in the room, the price explodes. This is why, since 2008, the stock market has gone up hundreds of %, while the actual world, the world of factories and grocery stores, has barely grown at all. QE created an everything bubble. It made the rich who own stocks and houses feel like geniuses. But for everyone else, it just made the real world more expensive. The juice was helping the athlete run, but it was also making the price of a ticket to the stadium impossible for a regular person to buy. By 2013, the Fed looked at the athlete and said, "Okay, you look strong now. You're breaking records. It's time to stop the juice. We're going to slowly pull the needle out. They called this the taper. They just hinted that they might stop the magic shopping trip. And what did the athlete do? They didn't say, thank you. They didn't say, I'm ready to run on my own. This brings us to the third twist, the taper tantrum. The second the market heard the juice might stop, it began to scream. Stocks plummeted. Interest rates spiked. The big banks basically told the government, if you stop giving us the free money, we will crash this entire plane right now. It was like a baby who had been using a pacifier for 5 years. The parents tried to take it away, and the baby burned the house down. The Fed got scared. They realized they weren't the ones in charge anymore. The market was the one holding the remote control. So, what did they do? They put the needle back in. They kept the magic shopping trip going for years and years, even when the economy was supposedly booming. We became a civilization that could only survive if the printer was screaming 24/7. We traded a healthy heart for a permanent high. Then the year 2020 hit. If the world was addicted to the juice before, 2020 was like an overdose. When the lockdowns happened, the economy didn't just slow down, it hit a brick wall. The Fed didn't just open the valve, they ripped the pipe out of the wall. In just a few months, they printed more money than they had in the previous 100 years. Combined, they bought everything. They bought debt from giant tech companies. They bought debt from cruise lines. They even started buying debt from zombie companies' businesses that are so broken they can't even pay their own bills, but stay alive only because the juice is so cheap. Here is the fourth twist. We were told this would save us, but it actually created a fragile world. Because the juice makes money feel free, nobody bothered to save for a rainy day. Why save when you can just borrow more juice? This created a world of giant, hollow corporations and massive government debts that can never, ever be paid back. We are now living in a world of make-believe math. We have $8 trillion of juice sitting on the Fed's balance sheet. To put that in perspective, if you spent $1 every single second, it would take you 32,000 years to spend 1 trillion. The Fed has 8 of those, and they have no plan for how to get rid of them. If they sell their shopping back to the market crashes. If they keep it, the value of your dollar continues to melt away like an ice cube in the sun. This brings us to the final, most terrifying twist. For 15 years, we were told that QE was a free lunch. We were told that we could print trillions of dollars and never see inflation as long as it stayed in the stock market. But you can only ignore the laws of physics for so long. Eventually, the juice leaks out of the stock market and into the grocery store. Eventually, the everything bubble starts to affect the price of eggs, milk, and gas. We are now in the middle of a tug-of-war that we cannot win. If the Fed raises interest rates to stop inflation, they kill the athlete. The stock market crashes, the zombie companies die, and the government can't pay the interest on its massive credit card. But if they don't raise rates, the juice keeps flowing, and the cost of living keeps rising until society snaps. We have built a machine that is too big to fly and too heavy to land. The smartest men in the room thought they could use math to defeat human nature. They thought they could create a world where no one ever has to feel the pain of a recession. But pain is a signal. Pain tells you when you're doing something wrong. By using QE to mask the pain for 15 years, they didn't fix the problem, they just allowed the rot to spread until it reached the very foundation of our civilization. When you look at a chart of the stock market hitting a new high, don't see it as a sign of health. See it as the bulging veins of an athlete on steroids. See it as a scoreboard for a game where the referee is also the one printing the points. The quantitative easing experiment proved that you can build a spectacular show on a mountain of debt, but it also proved the oldest law in finance. The steamroller always wins. You can pick up pennies in front of it for a long time. You can feel like a god while you do it. But sooner or later, the the juice runs out, the music stops, and you realize that the magic ledger wasn't magic at all. It was just a way to borrow wealth from your children's future to pay for a party today. And the bill? The bill has just arrived.